Hello everyone, this is Dr. Meyer here with a video for you on modulation. In this video we discuss one type of modulation, the common chord modulation, and its facilitation of modulation to closely related keys. This video is the first of a multi-video set on modulation. Let's begin with an example from Haydn's Piano Sonata in G major. The excerpt begins in G major. While listening, see if you can hear if the excerpt concludes in G major or not. I hope that by listening and examining the cadence, you found that this excerpt did not end in G major, but instead D major. In theory parlance, we say the piece has modulated from G major to D major. But how has this happened? Let's talk a little more broadly about modulation before we answer that question. As we have just seen, modulation means that the piece begins in one tonal center and changes to the next through a process which we will more exactly define soon. After a modulation has taken place, you will see at least one accidental, indicating that a new key is operating despite of the given key signature. Another hallmark of modulation is the harmonic movement, emphasizing a new tonal area, such as 5-1, as a new dominant to a new tonic. There are many different types of modulation or ways in which this process can be carried out. So in this video, we're only going to focus on one specific type, that is the common chord modulation. This is the type of modulation that we have seen in our Haydn example, to which we will return shortly. But first, let's talk about where modulations can go. In general, modulations in Western art music take place between closely related keys. Closely related keys share many common tones, usually 5 or 6 pitches. This close relation makes it easy for the composer to move between keys because not everything is changing, just one note or two. It also makes it easier for the listener, as sometimes we don't even know we are in a different key without doing an analysis of the score. To sort out which keys are closely related keys, look to the relative major or minor of the original key, as well as the keys which lie one sharp or flat away from the original key. Remember, both major and minor here. Using the circle of fifths as a visualization for related keys is quite helpful. And you can look one to the right and one to the left to find the related keys, as indicated by our shaded area here. If we flatten out this shaded area, we can plot out all of the keys that are related to G major, like in our Haydn example, on a line. You can see that D major lies just to the right of G on our circle of fifths, and is therefore a closely related key. The only pitch that is different in D major is C sharp. The rest are all the same. So Haydn has written a modulation to the dominant in his piano sonata. One more interesting element of closely related key modulation is the relation of all the keys to the original tonic. If the original tonic is G major, you can see that all of the potential key areas are diatonically related to G major. That is, they could be given a Roman numeral in the key of G major. Each key area is also defined by the given quality here. So in G major, you can only modulate to A minor, never A major, because the two keys must be closely related. The only Roman numeral missing here is the 7 diminished. And this makes sense because a diminished triad could never be a key area. The same charts could be drawn with a minor key as the original key. Let's return to the Haydn for a moment. Here are the jazz chords and Roman numerals for these measures. said you would likely find chromaticism after a modulation has taken place? Well, that C sharp is the leading tone in D major, and that cadence in D really solidifies D as a key area. The chromaticism that you will see will likely be the leading tone. Why? Because a new leading tone is the strongest harmonic way to bring about a new tonal center. A leading tone has a very strong pull toward tonic and can help you set up your new tonic. How do I explain this in my analysis? How can I connect the two keys? In general, look for the chromaticism and go back one harmony. This harmony will likely be the common chord to both keys. We can draw a bracket to allow us to describe how this chord functions in both keys. In this example, the G major harmony is the tonic chord in G major and the predominant chord in D major. The bracket helps to identify this chord, which helps to smooth over the modulation. We can describe this common chord as a pivot chord, which helps to facilitate a smooth modulation. Think of this chord as a linchpin in a fence, which allows the fence to swing back and forth, but continues the line of the fence. Just like the pivot chord, common to both keys, continues the piece of music. A couple of things about common chord modulation. The modulation is happening during that pivot chord, so we as listeners aren't actually aware of that modulation until after it has happened. We are interpreting the harmony of the pivot chord as functioning in the original key until the chromaticism of the modulation has alerted us to the tonal center change. Secondly, not all modulations are created equally. The efficacy of the modulation depends on the function of the pivot chord in each key. If the function of the pivot chord in the destination key is a tonic or dominant function, the modulation will seem more abrupt or dramatic. Therefore, as a rule, predominant harmonies make for smoother transitions and will likely be the function of your pivot chord in the destination key. Now it's your turn to practice. Listen to this Chopin example from his Prelude in C minor. Analyze the measures with jazz chords and Roman numerals. When you discover the modulation, make a bracket to describe the pivot chord in both the original and destination keys. Pause the video if you need more time. Here's what this excerpt sounds like. Here are the Roman numerals and jazz chords you should have gotten. The piece begins in C minor and modulates to A flat major via the pivot chord on the downbeat of measure 2. The A flat harmony functions as 6 in the original key and as 1 in the destination key, as noted by our bracket. Is A flat major related to C minor? Let's check the circle to find out. Yes, in fact, C minor and A flat major are closely related. Their key signatures vary by 1 flat, and they are close on the circle of fifths. We can also see that A flat major is the major 6 chord in the key of C minor, or the major submediant. So here's what we know about modulation. It's the changing from one key area to the other via some process. The process that we learned about specifically in this video is common chord modulation through the use of a pivot chord, which is common to both keys. Both keys also happen to be related to one another diatonically and by the circle of fifths. When analyzing a modulation, locate the chromaticism indicating a new tonal area, which is usually a leading tone, and go back one chord to find that pivot chord. The pivot chord can have any function in the destination key, but a predominant function will give the smoothest common chord modulation. That is all for now. Thanks for watching.